They were a happy, black-eyed family, and the day was perfect. Late August, the heat broken by the breeze coming off the ocean. A few stray clouds way out over the Atlantic, but otherwise the sky pitch blue and already beginning to deepen toward evening. Rufus Kite and his 5-year-old son had started after lunch, and now, 6 hours into the project, it loomed over the beach like the ruins of a Scottish castle. They'd constructed a moat all the way around, 2 feet wide and a foot down to the water table. Luther had even put a crab inside as a stand-in for a real monster. The tide would be upon them any time now, and already the noise of the surf was getting louder as it inched closer. Luther sat in the middle of the castle, surrounded by 2-foot walls, digging trenches and passageways, while his father dripped wet sand along the top wall. It looked like disintegrating masonry. 10 yards behind the castle, Luther's mother and sister reclined in beach chairs under the shade of an umbrella, Maxine tearing through the last 50 pages of a Ludlum novel, Katie curled up sleeping in her chair, the 80-year-old a deep bronze, the only member of the Kite clan who could catch a tan. They'd driven onto the beach 8 hours ago, the kids riding in the back of the old Dodge pickup truck as Rufus drove all the way out to the southern tip of the island, a spit of sand jutting out into the sea. At this time of day, they had it all to themselves. A man had been fishing a few hundred yards up the beach for the last several hours, but he was gone now. A fishing trawler loomed like a ghost on the horizon several miles out, nearly invisible through the haze. "If we build it big enough," Luther said as he packed the damp sand, fortifying the wall, "maybe the tide won't knock our castle down." Rufus grinned at his son. "If we built this thing taller than me, the ocean would still bring it down. There's no stopping it." Luther scowled. "But we worked so hard. I like it. I don't want it to fall." "Just enjoy it while you have it, son. By the way, that philosophy works for more than sandcastles." Luther came to his feet just as a breaker crashed 20 feet away. Seawater raced up the sand, stopping just shy of the moat. He turned around, glanced back toward the dunes. The sun was just sliding down behind the live oaks on Ocracoke Island. Only a few hours of daylight left. It had been such a perfect day, and Luther felt a glimmer of sadness at the thought of it coming to an end. He could see the ocean beginning to swell again. Another wave coming. He looked up at his father, saw Rufus smiling down at him, sweat beading out across the man's forehead under the jet-black bangs that stopped just above his eyes. The boy would always see his father like this, even in his old age. Young, fit, strong and happy. The breaker crashed ashore, the sea foaming and fizzing like a bottle of spilt soda. Rufus put his hand on Luther's shoulder. "Here comes the first attack, my boy. Man your battle station." Luther stepped up to the front wall and watched the water race toward them with a lump in his throat. When the sun was gone, they got a bonfire going and roasted wieners over a bed of coals that Maxine had spread out in the sand. Luther and Katie sat together eating hot dogs as the tide went out, the sound of the breakers now growing steadily softer. When he was finished with supper, Luther leaned against his sister and stared into the flames, his belly full, watching the fire consume the wood of some ancient shipwreck. He could feel the accumulation of sunlight in his shoulders, a warm, subtle glow. His eyes were heavy. "You tired?" Katie asked. "No." "Yeah, you are." "No, I'm not." "It's okay to be tired, Luther." "I know." She kissed the top of his head. "Sorry about your castle. You still sad it's gone?" Luther said nothing. "It was really cool, buddy," Katie said. She craned her neck and looked him in the eyes, must have seen the tears welling, shining in the light of the fire. "Luther," she said, "you'll get to make another one. I bet it'll even be bigger next time." Luther glanced up through the flames at his father and mother, Maxine wrapped in a shawl and cuddled up between Rufus's legs, nursing a cold beer. The heat of the fire felt good lapping at his face.